Good day viewers, we have with us today Tarun Basu, a resident of J Block CR Park, who is a seasoned media professional with over 45 years of experience, who has worked with prominent national and international media organizations. As a founding editor-in-chief and director of IANS, India Abroad News Service, later Indo Asian News Service, he played a pivotal role in reshaping news agency journalism in India, establishing IANS as a trusted South Asian media brand known for its reliable and objective reporting. Renowned for its extensive network across governmental, non-governmental, institutional and diplomatic circles, he has travelled extensively, accompanying 8 Indian Prime Ministers and 3 Presidents on official visits across all continents as part of their media delegations. Following his retirement from mainstream media, he now leads the Society for Policy Studies (SPS), a policy think tank that oversees South Asia Monitor, a highly regarded platform offering insights and analysis on the South Asian and Indo-Pacific region as an area of increasing geopolitical, economic and strategic significance. Tarun Basu's remarkable journey in journalism and policy analysis is the focus of an engaging conversation with CR Park Speaks today. My co-host Jaya Roy and I, Anindita Roy, are thrilled to have the opportunity to interview him today, delving into his decades of experience in the media industry, his insights on South Asian geopolitics, and his transition to leading the Society for Policy Studies. As he shares anecdotes from traveling with Indian Prime Ministers and Presidents and reflects on the evolving media landscape, we look forward to an enriching discussion that offers a rare glimpse into the mind of a veteran journalist who has witnessed history unfold from the front row. Over to you, Jaya.
Thank you, Anindita. So, viewers, welcome back to our very popular Know Your Neighbor section, and we are very happy to have Mr. Tarun Basu as our guest of honor. So, welcome, Tarunda.
So happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much. আপনার একটা illustrious career আছে spanning decades of very prominent journalism. Presidents, Prime Ministers সাথে আপনি থেকেছেন. So I think আমরা আজকে আপনার থেকে একটু গল্প শুনবো that how has been this career for you, and we would also like to hear some anecdotes about your experiences of having traveled with these VVIPs and dignitaries. So over to you, Tarunda. And প্রথমে আমি এটা জানবো যে how did you basically enter journalism, আর তারপরে কোম্পানিটা কেরম ভাবে আপনার ফর্ম হলো?
অনেকগুলো কোশ্চেন করেছে। Well, journalism, I had a science background. I'm from Delhi only, Delhi University, but I had a science background, but I always wanted to write. And although my parents would have liked me to be a scientist at that time, but I had other interests, and I started putting in my applications in newspapers at that time. And I got an opportunity in the United News of India news agency at that time. And I joined them as a trainee. And there I was for about 7 years. And there I learnt my journalism, basics of journalism there. And then I moved to Hindustan Times. And then to a German news agency, DPA. I was the India correspondent for about 8-9 years. Before I got an invitation from a newspaper publisher in the US, Gopal Raju, who used to run the major newspaper called India Abroad, USA, multi-edition. He invited me to New York and asked me if I would be open to starting a bureau of the office of the newspaper in Delhi. See, remember that time there was no internet.
Right.
And there was the only communication way people got news was through mail. And initially, when I opened the bureau here, I used to write my dispatches, give it to somebody who used to send by weekend courier by Air India to New York, and then they used to publish. That was how it all started. So in an office in Jorbag, and so that's how the news from India used to go to New York. And they had 5 editions: New York, San Francisco, Chicago, and the one in Toronto, and then later in London. So that was the time, the Indian American population was growing. They were coming into their own, and they were establishing themselves in various professional fields. But they never lost touch with India, and they always wanted to learn what is happening back home. हमारा पिंड में क्या हो रहा है, how are the things changing back home. And there was, because that time the American media, Western media was very negative about India. They only published very negative things about India. So we used to give them stories and dispatches from various parts of the country. By the time I had set up a network of correspondents in India and even from other parts of South Asia, used to give the news which was very different from the kind of news Western media used to give. That is how the whole story started, from feeding an American, very well regarded ethnic Indian South Asian paper about what was happening in this part of the world. To cut a long story short, there were a lot of struggles, of course, for India. Then the whole satellite link we started first, and then the internet came. And so the whole thing suddenly grew to become a news service that serves not just Indians but South Asians, not just in America but across the world. And at one time we had about 18 Indian foreign correspondents across the globe, giving news of India, interest to India, relevant to India from across the world. So again, that's a long story, but at some point the India Abroad paper during the turn of the century got sold off. India Abroad News Service was an entity. I said I'll run it separately as an Indian entity and made it Indo Asian. I wanted to keep IANS acronym there and made it Indo Asian News Service. It's short form for IANS, which became an Indian news agency. Okay. In fact, when Namta Kujilam IANS, I wanted to have that name, but I couldn't take India Abroad, but India Abroad got sold off. My wife, she suggested Indo Asian News Service, and so that's how the Indo Asian News Service. And then it became over time, well regarded and well respected brand for giving credible, impartial, objective Indian and South Asian news for subscribers all over the world. We had one time about 250, 300 people. And now, last 10 years are not there, but it's been bought up by the Adanis. Okay. And it's now part of NDTV, I think. So it's part of NDTV. And so that's the INS story. And that's how, illustrious or not, I don't know, but it was a very exciting time. And I had an opportunity because of our credibility. We had always were invited by various prime ministers and presidents, by the foreign ministry and PMO, to travel with them on their visits. So starting from Rajiv Gandhi, I didn't travel with Rajiv Gandhi foreign, but internationally, but domestically I traveled with him. VP Singh, then Narasimha Rao several times, Gujral, Bajpayee, Devegowda. Bajpayee ji, I traveled virtually all his visits across the world.
Do you have any interesting stories to tell us about any travel, any interesting anecdote?
Well, there are lots of stories which one can remember, and bits and pieces. There are things that you cannot often talk about, but there were incidents in these trips where you get to know these leaders on a very intimate basis, and then this often on the flight, long flights, like Pranab Mukherjee when he was president, or Bajpayee, they would call small groups into his cabin and have a chat with them and get feedback from them on what is happening, which often his aides didn't used to give. And Bajpayee was very generous, and he used to love his little drink, and he used to often offer us also very close people, very, very close people, and used to love his food. Okay. And digressing a bit, you see, difference the way all these prime ministers behaved and how they conducted themselves or what they did in their spare time was interesting in terms of getting to know their character. Like Manmohan Singh was a very workaholic. He didn't know leisure. He didn't know any free time. He was always working. মিটিং ফ্রম একটার পর একটা মিটিং, একটার পর একটা
ফ্লাইটেই সব হচ্ছে।
ফ্লাইটে হচ্ছে, আর ওখানেও যেতাম নিউ ইয়র্ক ওখানে ভীষণ বিজি রাখতো আমাদের। So I used to enjoy, but Bajpayee ji used to have his meeting, but one day he used to give us off. So आप मजे करो न्यू यॉर्क में, और we used to go to London. बोला आप लोग half a day you guys off, हम कोई मीटिंग नहीं रख रहे. So he used to, he used to always take his day off and have his little, have his friends around and all that. There were interesting things. There were, there are, even in media there are all kinds of people. And we used to go first class Air India, and we used to have most expensive cutlery. But you won't believe, even in media, top editors sometimes used to pocket some of this cutlery and used to, people used to know, and then they used to put out little tidbits in the paper without naming people there. People used to get drunk on flights.
Oh my God. I mean, the journalists
also, people got drunk on flights, and there used to be incidents and things. So all kinds of, there used to be, because of these prime ministers, they wanted more representation from regional media.
Right.
And a lot of these people who came from regional media, even though at senior level, they didn't have that kind of exposure. I'm talking about 15-20 years ago. Things were very different.
Correct.
So didn't have that exposure, and they used to get, even they used to be in places like Morocco once. People went to a nightclub, and obviously they had some problems with local people, and they were hauled up by police. So all kinds of incidents happened.
So who do you think is, according to you, who was the best leader to work with, where you have got the maximum, I would say, exposure, or you had the most fun working with them?
I traveled a lot with Gujarat, but Bajpayee was by far the most amiable person, except in his later years where he's really slowed down. I had this very famous interview with him 2 days after the Babri Masjid demolition, where he called it a worst miscalculation and a big disaster. And he said, sitting like this, and another colleague, मैं क्या करूं, मैं कहाँ जाऊं? In fact, I asked him, आप क्या बीजेपी छोड़ने की कर रहे हैं? कहता है बीजेपी कैसे छोड़ सकता हूं, मगर he was very disillusioned, and because Advani and all had gone against his will. He didn't want the Babri Mosque to be demolished, and he was very, very hurt, very, very hurt. And so even some people, it was just 3 days after the mosque demolition when my news came out. It was a big splash in all papers. People said that I had fabricated the interview. Bajpayee couldn't have said it. So, and that time, you see, there was no mobile still, and I just couldn't contact, and Bajpayee was unreachable. So about 15-20 দিন পরে কলকাতায় ন্যাশনাল এক্সিকিউটিভ মিটিং ছিল বিজেপির, and I had also gone. I still remember ওখানে একটা পুরনো বিল্ডিং আছে, মারওয়াড়ি হল or জেন সামথিং, আর ওখানে ওদের মিটিংটা ছিল, and I was going up the stairs and Bajpayee was coming in out of a lift. Bajpayee ji, आप हमको मिले नहीं, तो आप ये इंटरव्यू लोग तो कह रहे हैं जो ये फैब्रिकेटेड है, आपने कुछ कहता मैंने कुछ कहा आपको? So that's all he said. He said, have I said anything? I said, ठीक है, फिर तो ठीक है ना? मैं कहता है एकदम ठीक है. So he was a very different kind of a person, very, very different kind of person. He was a person of few words, but he was a man of huge conviction and showed a lot of statesmanship, and the way he reached out to other opposition leaders, something you don't see today.
I would like to know about this Society for Policy Studies that you are leading right now.
This is basically, you see, a group of people, mostly semi-retired, retired people. A lot of ex-ambassadors are there, ex-armed forces senior officers are there, academics are there. Pre-COVID, we used to do a lot more. Post-COVID, not that much. We used to have a lot of events at the India International Center discussing various political issues, various policy issues, not political necessarily, policy issues. And we used to have people from various parts of the world who used to come. Like Bangladesh is very much in the news. We had a huge whole day event there, India, Bangladesh, and we got the top people from Bangladesh, and we have done on Indo-US, we have done on economic issues, we have done on social issues. Basically, policy discussions related to India and South Asia. ওটা এখনো করি, but a lot of it is online. and আমাদের South Asia Monitor যেটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম আছে ওখানে, and there are a lot of people writing from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan থেকে অনেকে লেখে, across the world অনেকে লেখে, Southeast Asia থেকে লেখে. Basically these are opinion pieces and commentaries and views. I'm from experts, যেটা বলে domain expert যেটা বলে various things. We also give a lot of platform to young people. Students অনেক লেখে আমাদের, অনেকে লেখে.
So they basically, when you say subject matter experts, have they like written any papers on that particular?
Either they are studying that subject, students, of course, PhD scholars অনেকে লিখছে, or they are working on their MPhil, and plus people in the government who have.
So Tarun, you've seen a lot of evolution in the media, so to say, both in press as well as in online media. According to you, what is the I wouldn't say it's a future, but let me rephrase my question. How is Indian journalism progressing, and do you think it is progressing in the right direction? If so, if not, then what are the areas where we see scope of improvement?
See, what has happened, the whole business of journalism has been completely upended with digitization. While it has become much more democratic, like today you people are running a media establishment, and look at where you are running, but you have large viewership, as you are saying. So today anybody can be a journalist. You don't have to have a professional degree or diploma or anything else to be a journalist. If you have the passion.
Times of India also says citizen journalist.
Yeah, so and everybody can be. And sometimes so-called now, whether in the US or even in India before elections, these top leaders spoke more to individual YouTubers and so-called influencers rather than so-called legacy journalists. Even yesterday I read in White House, they are now giving place to people, front row seats, not so much to the New York Times and the Washington Post, but to individuals and groups of people who are running little social media. I won't say little, but smaller social media establishment, but a huge viewership. So the whole business of journalism is changing. The media economics has completely changed. You cannot run huge media establishments anymore because the economics is not there. See, the old days, the media economics, the revenue stream was only two: circulation and advertisement. Now circulation is gone completely because young people don't read. They are all consuming news free. All of us are mostly consuming news free. We are not paying. So if you are not paying for a product, how the people behind that product, how will they sustain themselves? So this is complete. That's why so-called the Times of India, the Hindustan Times, they are having all a tough time. They are having a tough time, and it will become even more challenging with AI coming in. People like you, the future is actually you. If you guys, you guys, even in a localized level, I think you people are doing a great job. And you have to find, all of you have to find your feet in having a regular, sustained revenue stream to not just sustain yourself, but to grow. This is the future of journalism. The big establishments will find it increasingly difficult. There will be big establishments, but they will, one way or the other, will have to be beholden to the establishment, because that's where the money is going to come from. Media, other private entities and all, but of course not. Either if they want to own a media like Adani's and others are doing, they'll have to control the editorial policies also in a big way, and which is happening. So-called independent media is taking a beating. The people who are running really independent media are the smaller entities, or some braver entities, I would say, like Wire and Print, but mostly, even you saw in the election, the YouTubers, and mostly in the vernacular media, they are the brave ones. They are the ones, and people are increasingly turning to them. আজকাল লোকে আগজ আমাদের বয়সে লোকে ছাড়া এই টাইমস অফ ইন্ডিয়া, হিন্দুস্তান টাইমস, এক্সপ্রেস খুব একটা পড়ছে না, লোকে পড়ছে না। People quickly turn to their mobile or laptop
and then you get so many different options of the same news. You get so many different opinions and views.
Although, like, I find sometimes the paper is important, the physical paper, because in the physical paper, if I turn the paper, at least if there are 10 sheets, I want more information in 1 hour of traveling to my workplace than scrolling through the internet.
That is also
So
there.
that is also, it cannot go away completely.
Do you think it will go away?
But অভ্যাসের ব্যাপার না, one is used to something. I mean, I like to morning, unless I can't have my morning tea without feeling the newspaper.
Yeah.
But ask my daughter, she doesn't feel the need.
Yeah,
They've
they
already,
don't
by
feel-
the time they have got up, they already know what's happening around the world.
No, there are certain other news which are there in the newspaper which we might miss while we are scrolling the internet. Until and
only
unless
that.
it is there in a total PDF format delivered to us.
Not only that, last night I was watching Aaj Tak channel and they gave some shocking news which I cannot even imagine coming in a newspaper. But he is talking about it live, and he was going live at 12 o'clock in the night. Maybe they were broadcasting, but he is talking about those news which will never feature in any newspaper. I know for a fact.
Because they know the only way to get viewerships today is to
Yeah.
go be sensational.
Yes.
They do, matlab, they will give
True or
such
false,
sentences
they
to
don't
a
make
person
that
don't
distinction.
get.
At that point of time, he thinks this is going to sell,
Yeah.
this is going to get him eyeballs, and if I get eyeballs, then the ads will come. That is
Like,
the only
lots
concept.
of time my mom will call up and say कि अरे दिल्ली में ये हो रहा है, आर यू सेफ? ऐसे दिल्ली में कुछ नहीं हो रहा है। नो, वो बोल रहा था, यूट्यूब में बोल रहा था कि दिल्ली में ऐसा हो रहा है। मतलब ठीक है, हो रहा है, but the way he is projecting it, it's not happening like that. We are safe. They just sensationalize it a lot.
But
And
thing
I told
with
my mom,
AI
"Don't watch
coming,
those."
it's going to make things worse. You
Yeah.
see, I mean, that day somebody sent a video with Trump, Putin, all these
Yeah,
leaders having
AI.
snan, mahasnan in Kumbh. Now, my driver asked me, "ये क्या सच है?" How are they going to know?
Yeah,
How would they know?
Yeah.
Media, whoever,
Sometimes-
they have to join hands together and say that we must have properly trained people.
Exactly.
There's no proper training today of journalists. You
Yeah.
see. And where you have a code of ethics sign and say there is some move in US where they are putting together a code of ethics where journalists sign and say, I will do this, I will not do
Pledge to
that,
do that.
I will cross-check this, I will take both sides. But those things are
Yeah,
only...
those are there, but like people who are not journalists and just making videos, live videos, so you cannot check them. That is the problem.
ওটা তো আর that is a humongous population. I mean, it's very difficult to even control.
No, but see, like what you are doing on a smaller scale, one of the things that you say, you have a big viewership. Why do you have a big viewership? People trust you, right?
Yeah.
There must be some measure of
Yeah.
trust and credibility.
Right.
So to bring that trust and credibility into your operation, that takes a lot of
Yeah.
doing.
And also it takes time for
It
that.
takes time to do that. So you have to establish that trust. So today people are not watching television. Or television to khulche cinema dekhwar jonno, Netflix dekhwar jonno, but people are not watching television. And television viewership is really declining.
Yeah.
I mean, এটা দেখলাম election last general election সময়, even all our workers, I mean guard bolo, driver bolo, they were all watching YouTube,
Yeah.
and all of them were watching Hindi and
Hindi,
vernacular,
Yeah.
which I also started watching, and I found them to be much more credible, objective, and authentic than some of the so-called established media was doing, and much more grounded.
Because they want to get that audience
they want
into
that.
their
So I mean,
viewership.
things are rapidly changing, you see, and more will change, and in a very, very unpredictable direction. A very, very unpredictable direction.
So for the new generation going forward, does it make sense for anyone to get into journalism with so much of, I would say it's sort of a chaotic sort of a scenario in our
It is
country,
uncertain,
maybe
but you see,
globally.
at the end of the day, finally, it depends on one's own values and ethics.
How you project yourself.
How you project yourself. I mean, you can also, you have the room to become sensational and do something, but I think at some point you say that we will only do this but not do that. But two others might come and say, I will give you CR Park gossip and naam na diye, অনেক কিছু দেওয়া যায় CR Park, which probably would get them a larger audience, but Is this what people want?
Exactly.
So, it's whether if you do it on a small scale like you are doing or a larger scale, it often depends on the people at the helm and what do they want to do with their operations. Is it all about making just money, or it is on about
Conscientious
informing,
journalism.
educating, making people aware?
Right.
So that's the big difference.
Thank you, Taruna. It was brilliant talking to you, Darun Laglo. And thank you, viewers, for joining this wonderful and very interesting and very heart-to-heart, I would say, chat show with Mr. Tarun Basu. I think we thoroughly enjoyed interviewing him as much as we hope you would have enjoyed watching this video. So see you soon in our next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.